Hunter, Jeff, how you guys doing?
Wonderful. Good to see you.
Yeah, doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining me. This is actually...
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be episode 50 of I Hate Music. That's kind of crazy. I never anticipated doing it this long, but it's super fun. So why wouldn't I?
Right. Yeah, it is fun. And I remember when we got to 10, I was like, God, can you believe we've done 10?
Yeah.
You know, and now we're up to 55 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys eclipsed me because I think I started a little bit before you, and then you guys were doing it like every 2 weeks.
Well, then we took probably 3-4 months off there, at least.
Yeah.
Almost, it was almost 6, wasn't it, Hunter?
Almost.
I thought it was more like 6.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing the Radical Research podcast, obviously, which I listen to religiously.
Thank you.
I just want to get into a little history here. Jeff and I go way back, even though we've only met each other once. And that was maybe for 2 minutes, I think, at Milwaukee Metal Fest 93, I think it was. We passed each other on the stairs.
Yeah. Was I at 93?
Do you have any recollection of that?
No. Well, I do remember getting stopped on the stairs, and it was you and was it somebody else, right? Were you with somebody?
I was, but you wouldn't know them. But
okay.
I was running into a lot of people too.
Yeah, I do remember some hectic meetings on the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Maycock was there.
93. Who played in 93? I'm having a blur.
It was the very last Impetigo show. It was
I was there. I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we met briefly on the stairs, and I feel like Maycock was there. Was he there?
Might have been. That, you know what's weird? Like some shows, and we've all been to millions of them, but like some just are such a blur, and some are crystal clear.
Yeah.
And I have crystal clear ones from the 80s. This one, and it wasn't because of partying or anything. I don't remember a lot about that. I remember Impetigo, however we want to say it.
Right.
I never had the disease, so I don't really have my
really
head around that word. Yeah, I know. Who else played? Absu played. With the basically original lineup, as I remember.
Yep. And Enslaved.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, my memory is a little hazy of it too. But yeah, I remember just meeting you for like a minute on those stairs. But in the 90s, we used to do Word of Mouth with Chris Maycock.
That's right.
Many, many moons ago. That was
right.
Awesome.
All right. Yep.
Did like Istan style zines.
Yep.
From there, you moved on to many other endeavors, and we both, I did a little bit of journalism, and you became editor of Metal Maniacs, and I wrote for Metal Maniacs many years later. But we've known each other for 30 years, right?
For sure. Oh, for sure. And I've been following what you've been doing musically, always interesting. And, and you had the kindness to send me the self-spiller.
That's right.
Yeah. On vinyl, which I had. I think I had just had like a CDR of that for quite a few years. Still one of my favorite things that you've done. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm really proud of that one. Yeah. So we go way back. But I wish at some point in time we would have crossed paths for more than 2 minutes.
Me too.
It's really funny how that works.
Absolutely. I know.
But and then Hunter, like you're a new friend. I've only known you for 6 months.
Yeah, and I've been listening to your music. Let's see, 21 years now.
21 years. Wow.
Marty Ritkin and he reviewed Pale Folklore in Maniacs, and I immediately went out and got it and loved it, and been following everything you've done since, basically.
Yeah. Well, I am woefully ignorant of Canvas Solaris, and I apologize.
That's an advisable ignorance. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
We're like the licorice of metal, like just for
licorice.
a few people. Yeah.
Okay. Like black licorice or red licorice?
I don't know. I hate
black.
Both kinds of licorice.
Really? You hate?
Yeah.
You hate
see, I love black licorice, and I'm a huge fan of Canvas.
Yeah.
But most people don't like black licorice. I just, I don't want to butt in here, but Canvas is one of those bands, not for everybody, but incredible. In fact, I have a lot of friends in bands, and I don't want to say too much here and piss off other friends. And I think all those friends know how much I like their bands or how little I like their bands. Because we're honest and we're friends, and it's cool.
Right.
But I'm of all my friends that are in bands, I think I'm probably the biggest fan of Canvas. Like if I didn't know Hunter, I would still have all the CDs that I have now. And I would probably still be the archivist for them that I am.
That's great.
He doesn't keep his shit, so I keep it for him.
You got to keep your shit.
Demos and weird shit.
I don't know, man.
T-shirts.
I remember what I want to.
Well, and
then Jeff keeps it in case I want to see it.
And in 20 years, he hasn't asked for it.
So, Jeff, how would you describe Canvas Solaris if you had to?
Well, I mean, definitely they come from the tech metal tradition of 1993. This is a year.
Oh, 93.
Yeah,
nothing good came out in 93. That was a bullshit
it was just
year.
all the stuff that, right.
Oh man.
I mean, that's what,
I'm getting off the call now. You guys have fun.
But they come from that, cynic, atheist, corner, watchtower tradition. And early on they had vocals, but they very quickly realized that what was happening musically was so interesting that it didn't really need vocals. Yeah. And I think it's a challenge to have vocals in music like that, but they're just a phenomenally technical and interesting and creative band. Metal, but they also, you can tell even in the earliest demos that still had vocals, you can tell they were drawing from there's a part that reminded me of Dead Can Dance the first time I heard, so they're very open that way. And it's hard for me to sit here and describe Canvas in front of Hunter.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
But
that's why I asked you to do it.
But I'm a fan. Weird. I'm a fan. And they've as the albums went on, they got a little bit more interested in keyboards and synths and, some more cosmopolitan sort of sounds coming into their mix. So, and there's not enough great technical progressive metal out there. And I'm talking like the super techie stuff, because it's not easy to play. And, these guys were sort of, torchbearers for that whole thing.
That's fantastic.
And young kids out of Georgia playing this stuff, it's almost, it's a bit savant level. Hunter's an amazing drummer. Nathan is an enigma, the guitarist and the guy that writes a lot of the stuff. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Jason, sometime when you and I are just having, text threads back and forth or whatever, I'll do my best to explain to you the human puzzle that is Nathan Sapp.
Cool.
It would be the wisest use of time now. It would take a while.
I feel like the subject has come up on Radical Research once or twice, so I feel like I have a general knowledge of it.
Awesome.
So today I've asked you here to, I don't want to use the word defend, but I guess defend a band or an album that you love, that you adore, that you would rank right up there with all your favorite bands, that you feel like is judged as being silly or underappreciated, misunderstood, something like that. But before we get into that, I would like to know if either of you have any thoughts on Eddie Van Halen.
It's a gigantic loss, man. I mean, the guy literally changed the capacity for the rock guitar, what people understood guitar being capable of in a rock context. And I don't know. Words fail me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much I can add to that. I mean, he was a Hendrix in the sense of there was before Hendrix and then there was Hendrix and after, right? I mean, in terms of what you can do with the instrument. I'm not even the biggest Hendrix fan, but I recognize that he twisted that instrument so beautifully and he looked at it in a way that nobody had before and said, and he just, for whatever God-given talent he had, he just took it and changed the world in a way, the musical world. Yeah. And I think Eddie Van Halen was sort of that second guy to do that. I mean, think about 77, 78 and that stuff he's doing on the first Van Halen album. Like,
oh, it's insane.
Who else was doing that? There were a lot of great players and a lot of great stuff coming out of the prog world and the early metal world, but nothing like that.
Yeah, no one had imagined, what he did.
Right.
And he was a great writer, on top of being a great musician. That
and by all accounts, a really great dude too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Hunter makes a good point about the writing. Nobody's saying that right now, and that's fine because we're all in the wake of this, and he was primarily known as a amazing lead guitarist. But he was the focal point for how many great compositions, like if you're a Van Halen fan, which I am, I could start listing them off. Atomic Punk, I'm on Fire, just
Mean Street,
on and on. Mean Street, Unchained, Loss of Control, Cradle of Rock. I mean, we could keep going.
1 Foot Out the Door too. Like, I mean, that's a really, really futuristic song.
Yeah,
because they shed all the guitar. It's just synthesizers, drums, and vocals.
Well, fair warning, man. Fair warning.
Pretty forward-thinking stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a kid, they were kind of a gateway for me to getting into things like Ozzy.
Sure.
Okay.
Van Halen. I was introduced to Van Halen at a very, very young age. I was way too young to appreciate necessarily his style or his technique or anything like that. But somebody described yesterday as Van Halen songs, every one of them sounding like a dog with sunglasses on. And I was like, that's amazing. That's perfect.
That's great.
That is like the biggest compliment, I think, for like Van Halen ever. For me, it really encapsulates like the feel of what their songs are like. And as like a 8-year-old boy, what's better than a dog with sunglasses on? So
very true.
Van Halen were huge for me. I saw him on the 5150 tour. It's amazing. I was into like the Sammy Hagar stuff as a kid. Now it's a little bit harder for me. To revisit, but Eddie and Van Halen in general were very, very huge for me growing up.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Huge loss.
Okay, well, moving on from that, now I have a different thing this is the first time I've ever done this. We are going to do Mad Libs. So this is going to be interesting. So my idea is I gave you guys a list of album titles, song titles, or I asked you to fill in the blanks for those things, nouns, verbs, adjectives, all that, for a classic metal Wikipedia entry. I entered your answers into it. I'm going to read it out, and I want you guys to try to guess what classic metal album it is.
Oh, wow. Should we tell people that the song titles that you asked us to provide were fictional? You didn't want us to draw from... Does that matter?
Yeah, I thought that would be confusing if, we're talking about Consuming Impulse by Black Sabbath.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
Which would actually be pretty rad.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this out, and then you guys tell me what album you think it is. You guys ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Fractured Ambushes is the third studio album by bulbous thrash metal band Sodomize Thine Vast Imagination, released on July 7th, 1777 by K-Tel. Forgive my pronunciation on this one. The Pamplesest was the band's first collaboration with producer Jim Barnes, whose input helped the band sound genuflect. The release date of the album was delayed because of concerns regarding the lyrical subject matter of the opening track, Chants Under the Fog of the Disenchanted Weeping Moon, parentheses, hurling our spells towards the anti-cosmic epicenter part 6, which refers to Balrog and describes acts such as human shredding that he committed in Statesboro. I wonder who said Statesboro. However, the band's members stated numerous times that they did not condone TV commercials for the History of Ragtime's 36 cassette box sets compilations and were merely interested in the fjord.
I really don't understand how Black Sabbath and Consuming Impulse could confuse things beyond that.
I think I know it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to be so impressed if you know what this is.
Rain and Blood, Slayer.
You're right. Holy shit, Jeff, Rain and Blood. Yeah.
Well, the giveaway was the controversial first song.
Right.
Because I remember being, 16, 17. That shows my age.
Yeah.
And that was huge. And then I think you said something about our first collaboration with Ruben.
Rick Rubin. Yep.
Yeah.
I really tried to keep those little gems in there so it wasn't complete nonsense. So
it was getting there. I was a little worried. Yeah.
Well done, Jeff.
Well, that's
Thanks.
great. That's awesome. So that means that you go first.
Oh, wow.
You get to play your choice first.
Am I playing it? Am I talking about it first? Am I surprising you with the playing of it? What are we doing?
You're definitely surprising us.
Okay.
You're not telling us what it is.
Okay.
You're playing it. We are free to talk over it.
All right.
And we will discuss pros, cons, and what we think.
You know how I feel, Jeff.
Yeah, this is.
You know what it is already?
Yeah. I also love this album.
Really?
Yeah.
This is kind of what we do at Radical Research, is talk about these exact kind of albums and songs and bands that are not well liked or misunderstood anyway.
I have no idea what this is.
Really?
I'm certain that you like music by this band. Some music by this band.
I want to guess Pyogenesis.
No, but no.
Like Later, because I'm totally unfamiliar with Later.
You're in the P's though.
Oh, so it must be Paradise Lost.
Yep.
Okay. So this is
Believe in Nothing.
I don't know that at all.
Yeah, it's their 2002 record, and it really, the people that did pick up on it didn't seem to like it very much, but it mostly just went by unnoticed by most people.
Really? Okay.
It follows an album that was not well liked at the time that I feel has gotten a lot more cred over the years, called Host.
Right.
You know, you take a few guys in Catatonia praising it, and suddenly everybody else likes it too. Because they have said that. And this one was the follow-up, a lot less Depeche Mode, a lot less electronic, and it just, people didn't get it. I'm of the opinion that it's one of my favorite Paradise Lost albums, and it gets better for me over the years.
I mean, from the little bit I'm hearing right now, it doesn't seem like it's so far removed from a lot of Catatonia's work.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked over it, but there's a moment there, because it's a short song, there's a moment there where Gregor McIntosh does get into his super, I don't know, haunting kind of melodic lines. Yeah, and he still retains that on this album, and there wasn't much of that on Host.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Host or this record. I fell off with Paradise Lost quite a long time ago. Maybe Draconian Times around then.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was...
And after that's when they really sort of evolved out of metal altogether.
Yeah.
Because 1 Second can't be called a... I mean, it's a rock record, but again, very, very heavily influenced by The Mission, Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing.
But I find that really interesting. I feel like there's a lot of bands that were doing that, you know, around the same time. Paradise Lost, Catatonia. One of my favorite ones actually is Down by Sentenced. I thought that
I like that record a lot. Yeah.
I thought Down was fantastic. I mean, I'm a North From Here guy, but
yeah, me too. But no,
still.
you really. I mean, I even like some of Frozen.
Is that the one with the burp on it?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. The burp's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate burp.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out that later Paradise Lost. It's, you know, it's something that, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I was kind of late to the boat on Paradise Lost in general. I started listening to them maybe late 90s.
Okay.
I've been Anathema and My Dying Bride, you know, since the beginning, but for whatever reason, Paradise Lost just didn't grab me in the same way.
Oh, it's okay.
So, yeah. So I didn't have like the motivation to really check out the later stuff after I heard Draconian Times so much. But I just yesterday somebody was telling me like, oh, Host is amazing. So
it's a really good record.
You know, they made the sea change with 1 Second, which was after Draconian Times.
Right.
That was where they went like kind of full gothy or, you know, whatever. And then Host went kind of even further into, like Hunter said, that whole Depeche Mode area. Really alienated a lot of people. I've always liked that one, and I think that Host has always had kind of this cult following. But yeah, the thing about Believe in Nothing, or Believe in Nothing, if you look at the album cover with a bunch of bees on it. Sorry. That's radical research humor. That's not going to fly on I Hate Music.
No, it's not. There's no humor on this podcast whatsoever.
It doesn't fly in most places.
Yeah.
In all fairness.
But Believe in Nothing, sort of like, it was kind of like Host meets 1 Second meets, I do hear a little bit of that earlier, maybe even Icon era, Paradise Lost in some of this. And people just were kind of, I think, checked out at that point. Certainly in the US. I don't know how it did in Europe, but this is one of those albums where the band just hates it, and they talk shit about it all the time.
Oh, really?
Except for Aaron Eady. I think he likes everything they've ever done. But my thinking on that sometimes, and this is a lot like Kisses the Elder, another derided album that the band hates, is if it had done really well commercially, I feel like the band would probably have a different take suddenly on the worth of the album, rather than looking at it just from the creative, artistic standpoint and going, yeah, we're still okay with that.
I think that happens often. I mean,
sure. I mean, I get it.
The way it's received is it affects the artist no matter what they want to say.
Sure.
I get that, and as a person who sort of likes a lot of these kinds of albums that aren't popular for whatever reason, my thinking is that I think there's some great art here, and it's too bad that commercial success sort of
it can taint it,
damns it to the dustbins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but you're an artist, and I suppose if somebody came out and said, "Oh, that last Agalloch album is the worst thing ever," no matter what you think about it, that kind of gets into your head, doesn't it?
It seeps in a bit, but also it just depends. I mean, if Paradise Lost if they're trying to pay rent off that record and they're not making any money, that can definitely taint the experience. But if they're doing it just for the art, and then fuck it, who cares if it's not selling? If people don't like it. But if they're playing all over Europe, and they used to get crowds of 1,000 people, and now they're getting crowds of 300 because people don't like their new record, that sucks.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, you can see their trajectory after this was, there was Symbol of Life, which I never got my head around. But after that, they started to go kind of like old Paradise Lost sound, and they started to pay their rent, and they started to have a career or save their career. And honestly, for, at least in the case of this band, I think it's a bit empty artistically. I've tried those albums. I don't care for them at all. And so I feel like Believe in Nothing is one of these albums that's kind of comes at the end of a real natural evolution, and then then the backpedaling begins, right?
Well, speaking of backpedaling, My Dying Bride.
Oh yeah,
same.
Yeah, Light at the End of the World was a complete retreat back into safer waters,
right?
Because no one seemed to understand 34%.
Nobody but you guys did. I'm convinced.
Well, that's what I meant. You gave us this task, and I was like, well, we've kind of covered about 45 of my choices, and I didn't want to bring in something that we'd already done on a radical episode. So I was like, yeah. So, but that's what we do. Great example though. And Anathema, the other of the Peaceville Three, they never backpedaled. They kept going. They kept moving forward.
Going. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore, but you know what I mean. Their evolution to me was as true as can be. It started at point A, it ended at point Z, and they never really went back and we're going to do the old Pentecost 3 thing again.
But so you said with Paradise Lost, you felt like the when they backpedaled, it was kind of artistically empty. Do you feel the same with My Dying Bride?
Yeah, I don't care for any of those records. I like some of Light at the End of the World. I like some of Dreadful Hours. But my interest is less than Turn Loose the Swans and Flower Withers. I think Hunter probably agrees.
Definitely.
Mostly, but I think Line of Deathless Kings is a great album.
Okay. Yeah,
that is great.
Yeah.
We Hunter and I disagree sometimes.
Sometimes.
Happens.
There's one My Dying Bride song that they did. I'm a Light Gods of the Sun guy and earlier for the most part. There's one song on one record that in my mind could fit on Angel in the Dark River. And I don't remember what record it's on, but it's called, I want to say it's called Thy Raven Wings. Do you guys remember this one?
No.
Nope.
I probably have the title wrong, but it was one of those I just stumbled across one time and I listened to it like 6 times in a row. I was like, this is classic, like Angel in the Dark River, My Dying Bride.
Wow.
Like this
Nice.
is, and it was on one of the newer records, but
Okay.
every
Yeah,
other time I've listened to the newer stuff, it's just, it falls flat for me. I mean, I like it. It's not bad.
Right.
It's just, I've
They're
been
good at
hearing
what
the
they
same
do, but
record
yeah.
for 30 some years, you know? I mean,
Well, that's my problem. A lot of these bands go AC/DC on you, and then you're like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on your values too, and there's no right or wrong, but I don't want to hear this backpedaling stuff, you know? It just doesn't work. I don't know.
I'm not into the backpedaling either. I guess if it was done well, like I feel like when they backpedal, they're not backpedaling and progressing. It's not like, oh, we're going to start growling again, but we're also going to add keyboards. It's like, we're just going to try to recreate what we did 20 years ago.
For sure. That's usually what it is.
That's difficult for me.
It feels empty. Yeah.
For us.
So I want to revisit one thing you touched upon, Jeff. You mentioned albums that bands hate.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever somebody brings that up, I always think of Suomi Finland Perkele. I think that's one of the, in my mind, one of the best metal records ever made. And it's beyond me that Impaled Nazarene could be embarrassed of it. I think
I didn't know they were embarrassed by it.
Yeah, they disregard it completely.
Interesting.
Blood is Thicker Than Water was very probably the best thing they ever wrote, and was obviously a precursor to Legenda. Those 2 Legenda records are beyond compare.
It's a cool album. Where are they coming from on that? I mean, was it a failure commercially? Was it, did they look at it as their sort of like death rock style album? Because it's a little more of a party album or something.
Didn't Mika's brother have a huge hand in that record?
I believe so. And I think that's why it was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know their beef, but I think, Jeff, I think you're right. I think they were like, oh, it's too funny, or not funny, but not serious enough. It's too much of a party record. You know, you've got Steele Vagina on there, and it's got.
But they always had a sense of humor, man. I've been around Mika and a goat, he is not dangerous to goats. He kind of somewhat infamously fed my baby goat, and we printed that in Maniacs. He loves goats, but every song, every Impaled album has a goat song, goat perversion. Just goat penis. You keep going, and like
Goat Seed is my favorite.
So look, they already had a sense of humor. I think on Suomi it just came out maybe 100% versus like maybe I don't know, man. That band always had this kind of tongue-in-cheek thing. Whatever.
Maybe
I think it's a great record.
Maybe it wasn't hardcore enough. I mean, you think of the records that came after it. It's they were kind of doing the black and the punk thing before Dark Throne, and maybe they were just like, I don't know, maybe it just wasn't fast and hard enough for them. But I fucking love it.
That's an interesting point too. They did the pre-Dark Throne. I mean, you can see Latex Cult being something Fenris was like, oh, I kind of want to take my band here.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely doing the punk and roll or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So Hunter.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I believe so.
Awesome.
Let's see. Here we go.
Okay.
And this record, I believe, is still thoroughly hated, but I love it. It's actually sort of Melvinsy now that I'm...
Yeah, I was thinking somewhere in the helmety...
Yeah, bark.
Helmet's a good call.
Wait a minute. Is that LG Petrov?
Yep.
It's not Comic-Con. What the hell else has LG Petrov been on? Dude, wait a minute. Are you a Same Difference fan?
I am.
Oh, shit. Is that what this is?
That is.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Wow. Oh, there it is.
I have a lot to say about this band. I'm glad you played this.
Cool.
Our friendship's in jeopardy.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, it's not.
No, this is...
I have a lot of questions about Entombed.
I've wanted to hear this for a long time. I haven't heard it forever.
I find it really interesting that you select this instead of Wolverine Blues.
I think this is far more
that one's
contentious
straight
than
up
Wolverine
awesome.
Blues.
Wolverine
yeah.
Blues is straight up classic. But I hear you. I think a lot of people don't care for that either.
And this is, the first post-Nicky Entombed record.
Hey, Hunter, can you turn it down just a little bit?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Huh. I gotta say, Hunter, I never knew you were into that album.
Really?
Have you been hiding that?
No.
You're not the kind of person to be embarrassed by your music choices.
Oh, no, I've never hidden that.
I just didn't know. I
I've
don't
owned
recall
it,
seeing
like,
that on the hundreds of playlists we've exchanged. And
Does it come up often, though? I mean, like, crappy Entombed, does it ever come up?
I mean,
oh, boy. Here we go.
Yeah.
Gloves are off.
I don't know that record at all. I've never heard that record.
What's your experience with Entombed? How far do you go? What's your level of love or not?
For me? Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, do you mind? Can we get Hunter's opinion on this first? Like,
absolutely.
I'm really interested about your trajectory with Entombed, since you're the one that played it.
I mean, Entombed is one of the most important bands in my life because the two first extreme metal records I ever owned, I got them the same day when I was 12, is Sepultura's Arise and Left Hand Path.
Yep.
And I put on Arise first, and I was like, holy shit. And I knew my life would be forever changed until I heard Left Hand Path.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, things were escalated very quickly. And since then I've just been obsessed, and I followed them through Same Difference. But after that, they sort of, I think Uprising is the album after Same Difference.
Yeah.
Which goes back to it doesn't sound like Entombed, like classic Entombed, but it's definitely darker and riffier and sort of a nod back to their death metal past.
Right.
And those post Same Different records. You and I sort of flirted with Morning Star. I remember at the same time.
That first song on there is incredible, but after that,
Yeah. It didn't really have any sustained appeal for me. The Same Difference, it was just so universally vilified, and I couldn't understand how a band that meant so much to me, and I actually like it as much as I like To Ride and Shoot Straight, simply because To Ride and Shoot Straight is a terribly uneven album. It's got some really good stuff on it, but Nicky was the principal songwriter up to that point, and you could kind of tell that helicopters had become a priority for him, and there was just some leftover stuff on that album.
Yeah, I agree.
And like the thing is that you can't view Same Difference in light of earlier Entombed, even that evolution up to Ride Shoot Straight. I mean, the other, like Ufa and Alex were really big indie rock fans and really into like the Am Rep catalog and Touch and Go, really into Helmet, Bark Market, Sonic Youth. And when Nicky left, I think they felt free to indulge those influences. And that's what you get on Same Difference. You also get one of the worst album covers of all time.
It's really bad.
If only that dog had been wearing sunglasses, it would be an entirely different story.
It would be a Van Halen record.
It would be.
Amazing.
It'd be like,
yeah.
Can we get some sunglasses over here? Yeah.
I hope your mystery selection has an animal on the cover at least, because I had bees. You've got a dog.
Oh, that's right. Well, mine
Let's
does
go.
in a way.
No, Hunter, I was going to say too, with Same Difference, that would seem also to dovetail into your trajectory as a listener, because you were also into what those guys were into. And
yeah, I
mean,
I
kind of their band, because you were into Sonic Youth and things like this.
Yeah. And Jason, I don't know, like if you and I have ever talked about this, but like I got into like indie rock and alternative rock and noise stuff pretty much exactly the same time as metal. So I kind of rode both of those waves simultaneously, and they went back and forth
similar.
for me.
Yeah, mm-hmm. yeah. Gincore.
Yeah, right. The beginnings of Gincore. Yeah.
Someone's been listening. Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, I've been listening. Entombed is a fascinating subject for me, so I'm super glad you brought this up, because for me, Entombed was one of the most important bands to ever exist. And then at a certain point, I don't know shit about them anymore. So I'm really curious, because I know they have like a kind of sordid history over the last few decades. But I mean, Left Hand Path, there's no words to describe Left Hand Path. It's
no, there's nothing else that can be said that,
yeah.
Incredible.
Clandestine.
Incredible.
Absolutely amazing. I would say, at least for me, the best Entombed release, though, is the Crawl EP.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
Pound for pound, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's got Orvar from Nirvana 2002, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Who's
that guy might be the best Swedish death metal vocalist of all time. People just don't. There's just not enough out there where you can glean from that. But
they had maybe the best Swedish death metal drummer too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy was
Nirvana
incredible.
2002.
Yeah.
I
mean, Nicky's
fucking
he's
great.
unimpeachable. Yeah, I mean, Nicky's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember I saw Entombed 93 with I can't remember who they played with, but I was so used to going to these metal shows, and it's like it's like these drummers with like fucking toms everywhere and just like a 20-piece kit, and Nicky showed up and he had like 2 toms and a snare and a couple cymbals.
Yep.
And everybody's kind of like, it was like visibly, I mean, it was striking in its simplicity, and he fucking killed it.
He doesn't need more than that. Yeah.
No.
He's got such feel.
Oh yeah. Fantastic drummer. So Entombed, amazingly huge for me. And then I did enjoy Wolverine Blues, but in a different way, kind of like what you were saying, Hunter. Like, you can't really compare it to the earlier work.
Right.
And then after that, like, I actually don't really understand what happened. Like, I know there's an Entombed AD. I do believe.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I don't know if I've never heard Entombed AD. I don't think.
But isn't LG Petrov in Entombed AD?
Yeah. With
is it Ufa?
I don't know the history of Entombed AD. I know it's LG's thing.
So what happened? Like, LG had a falling out with the rest of the guys, or except for one, and then because
I want to say Alex was in Entombed AD for a while, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
Are there 2 versions of Entombed simultaneously happening?
I think there were, but then there was this big reunion thing with essentially the original lineup. LG, Nicky came back, just for live shows, Ufa, Alex, and I think wasn't there shit, I'm trying to think of who played bass. Didn't the guy from Morbus Cron play bass?
I thought so. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's basically just LG.
Entombed AD.
Yeah, and then 3 guys. Then
are you on the Oracle right now?
I'm on Wikipedia actually.
Okay. And 3 guys. So Entombed AD is LG and 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of any of these dudes.
Okay.
Yeah, no one from Entombed was ever in, beside LG, was ever in Entombed AD.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was a legit version
band
of the real Entombed going around, and it had the principal 4 guys. And again, I want to say Robert Carlson from Morbus Cron, aka Sweven, was playing bass, maybe. I don't know.
I thought I had heard that somewhere, but I'm not sure.
But here again, it's like the Paradise Lost thing. Like, I think Same Difference by Entombed was perhaps the end of the natural evolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, like you're saying, like there's a natural evolution. So then what happened after Same Difference?
Well, and it's kind of like what you guys were talking about. Like, this is a band that presumably made a living playing music for a while. And we're selling a lot of tickets to shows. Oh, yeah. And then they lose, really the most important member of the band, the main writer, this amazing drummer, sort of like the spiritual center of the band. And they put out this fairly brave record, and people say, it's Nicky's gone and this is a steaming pile of shit and Entombed's dead. And I'm sure that was a huge arrow to every ego in that band. Because they didn't have, they lost their safety net. They lost their patriarch, and and then they were subject to the slings and arrows of the entire metal and rock press. And I think their only way to sort of respond to that was to go back to something more familiar to people. I don't know how they fared commercially post Same Difference. I don't know if they made any amends with fans by playing more traditionally metal kind of music, but I don't know. It struck me as insincere. But I can't, if I step back and look at it with some objectivity, I can't blame them either. That must have been a really tough thing to have to absorb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you said you're not totally familiar with Entombed AD and the later stuff, but do either one of you know the timeline? Like, I don't even know the records. Like, when did LG and the rest split off from each other? What year was Same Difference?
98.
Oh
shit, 98. Okay.
Yeah, and then
there were
Morning Star is the last one that I know, and that was 2002.
There were 4 records after Same Difference.
Okay.
Uprising. Was Morning Star after Uprising?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have, was it Serpent Saints or something?
Okay, I don't know.
Maybe there's only 3. Oh, Inferno comes in there.
Okay.
After Uprising, before Morning Star, or after Morning Star. There's 4 records, I think. And then there was a long gap of just either inactivity or just no studio albums. And then there was, I think, and I don't want to talk out of turn. I think there was some kind of legal thing with the use of the name between LG versus, I think, Alex Hellid. Therefore you had a splinter happening. But honestly, both bands are really existing off of nostalgia. Because those later Entombed records, there's not that many people that are just gung ho about. And I know, I had access to a lot of sales figures over the years working with record labels, and I know that those Entombed records didn't do well at all. They did okay.
Yeah.
Some label wants to have Entombed. It's a name that sells, but yeah, their glory days are gone, and therefore, we have these special, reunion festival shows, and we get Nicky back, and we get the original guitarists back, and LG's there, and they're probably paying some nice mortgages with that, but
yeah.
Well,
again,
apparently,
I think you hit a wall. You hit a wall creatively.
apparently the first Entombed AD record wasn't released until 2014.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's
Yeah,
a pretty big lag there. And it's got a great title, Back to the Front.
Oh, what? So when was To Ride? To Ride was in the
That was
90s,
90.
wasn't
That
it?
was 97. Yeah,
Yeah.
So that was the next record after Wolverine Blues.
correct.
Yep. Yeah.
And
there
that was LG and Nikkei and
That was
Alex and
the-
everybody?
That was the core
everybody.
four.
Yeah, everybody except Lars. They got a new bassist.
Jorgen from Grave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so LG's not in it?
No,
Yeah, he's in
LG.
it.
Yeah, no.
Oh, but
Jorgen
Lars.
plays bass on it. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Lars Rosenberg left. And,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
But if I remember correctly, it was a long while before that record even got a U.S. release.
Yeah.
I mean, it was import only for a couple of years at least, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
they kind of dropped off the radar in the US. And it's weird because Wolverine Blues was a success. I don't know if it was hurt by that whole Columbia earake deal and the whole like Wolverine Marvel Comics tie-in.
And the comic thing, that was a bit
yeah.
weird.
But, you know,
It was.
I saw them a few times on the Wolverine Blues tour, at least twice, maybe 3 times. They're incredible. They were pulling big crowds. You know, saw them in
Yeah.
Chicago, saw them in, I think, Milwaukee. And it just, it seemed to do really, really well. So I don't know, you know, what the reason is for the drop-off. Personally, I think there's a drop-off in music quality. I like To Ride. I just don't think it's not Wolverine Blues. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
No.
Well, it's an interesting change going from Clandestine to Wolverine Blues to Ride.
time.
That's a really weird trajectory.
It
That
is.
seems like almost like they're throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I read somewhere that they weren't very happy with Clandestine and that they were actually
weren't.
trying to be
They were.
atheist.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah.
thought it was
Yeah.
overwritten, too complex. They didn't think that those songs translated well live. I think that they even said that we were difficult to play live, probably because they were difficult to play live after like 6 cases of beer. I mean, Wolverine Blues is like,
Totally.
all right, look, guys, we can like get pretty trashed and still play these songs convincingly.
Oh yeah,
You know?
we can rock some simple riffs.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird trajectory there. So,
It is.
Jeff, Left Hand Path or Like an Ever-Flowing Stream?
Left Hand Path. I think song for song, it's more memorable. No, just song for song, I think it's more memorable. You have that first track on Ever-Flowing Stream, Override of the Overture. That is a fucking, you know, that's
Masterpiece.
almost as good as the title track, Left Hand Path. And I think it's a good album, but I think Left Hand Path just there's a hook or a highlight in every song on the album.
Supposed to Rot, Revel in Flesh.
Every song. I mean, every song has a moment where I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, yes, I'm in this for the entire 40 minutes, and I'm not, you know, it's your world for that 40 minutes. And you know, Like an Ever-Flowing Streams like that, just not as, you know, I mean, that's just me.
Carnage? Where does Carnage fit in there?
Below those two, I think it's good. That's just more flat out brutal.
It's the heaviest of the 3.
Yes, I think it lacks the hooks.
Yeah,
of the other two. Yeah.
I agree with that. Hunter?
Left Hand Path. Number 3 for me would probably be the first Unleashed record.
Oh,
hell yeah!
Their only good output.
Yeah, I mean, I like Shadows in the Deep a little bit, but there's nothing that even comes close to that first record.
No, agree with you guys. They're only great output.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. What about Afflicted Prodigal Son? What about Afflicted Prodigal Son?
You guys have been over that. I haven't.
I think that's in the top 5, man.
Yeah, that's a fucking great record.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I adore that record.
Cool. I didn't know you were a fan. That's cool.
Oh yeah. For me, Left Hand Path, Like an Overflowing Stream, it depends on the day. You know, cool. When I was in high school, Left Hand Path was like, that was it. And then I heard Like an Overflowing Stream and I'm like, this is better. And then the next week I'm like, nope, it's Left Hand Path. And it's like, nope,
right.
It's Like an Overflowing Stream. It's just, they're neck and neck for me.
They always felt like companion albums.
Well, I wouldn't ever argue, like, even though I like Left Hand Path a little more, I would never argue with anyone that one's necessarily better. I would never take issue with anyone saying they liked an Ever-Flowing Stream more than Left Hand Path. I mean, they're both great records.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, Jeff, you're a little bit right. I think Left Hand Path it's a little bit hookier, a little bit more memorable.
Yeah. As I return to it, I think that's one of those things maybe you only realize over the years, as you get older, and now, now I'm 50 and now I'm putting on Left Hand Path for the 300th time in my life. And and same with Ever-Flowing Stream. Like it just, what am I getting out of it decades later? And I think that Left Hand Path is just kind of continuing to get up here.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that. I've been pretty immersed in black metal for quite a few years. And now I'm finding myself getting really bored with it. And I'm revisiting a lot of the classic death metal stuff that I've been into since the late 80s, early 90s. And I definitely feel what you're saying. Like there's certain records where I'm like, this is timeless. Like this is just completely hitting me right. And other records, I'm like, this is good and I appreciate it, but it's not hitting me in the same way.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So before I play mine, I want to revisit the Eddie Van Halen thing real quick. I wonder what you guys think. Do you think that Trey Azagthoth was heavily influenced by Eddie Van Halen?
I mean, he says so.
Yeah, to hear him say it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense because he, and this is not a criticism of Eddie, but Eddie to me does tricks. Eddie does like impossible things. He doesn't like build a lot of themes. He doesn't like emotionally hit you with at least not melodically. He does a lot of just impossible things. And I think Trey Azagthoth does the same thing.
Yeah. But I think too, a parallel that you might be able to draw is that Trey, I think, looked at the guitar in the death metal context differently than anyone had before him. I think he saw possibilities. And just to hear Trey sort of rhapsodize about the Morbid Angel sound, he always describes it in physical terms, like some, primordial beast, stalking the earth, and what do you say? Like a Black Sabbath 8-track that was warped. Thunderstorms and things like that. I mean, he sort of brought his imagination to bear on that guitar, and I think Eddie did too. But Eddie did do a lot of tricks and stuff. But like, I listened to his solo and Beat It the other day after he passed, and I was like, this is some pretty musical shit too. I mean, it's pyrotechnic, but like, he came in as a session guy and like elevated that song.
He is musical, and I think that's one of his most well-written solos. I guess.
I think that's an outlier.
I agree with you. Yeah. It's a great solo. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, one of his best. It's funny about Trey. He also was taking, you listen to like Abominations, recorded in '86. So, Slayer was a predecessor, but not that much of one, right? I mean, Abominations is quite early, and you listen to Trey's work on that, his lead work, and he's basically taken what Kerry King and Hanneman were doing. And I think with that inspiration from Eddie, because he was always super charged up by Eddie, I think that's where you get sort of this next level of noise. I guess what back then was kind of considered just noise guitar,
right?
And he turned it into art, and that's how I look at it. But.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I was aware that he actually called out Eddie as an influence, but it completely makes sense to me.
Oh yeah, he's crazy for Eddie. That's cool. You picked up on that without knowing it.
Yeah, that's
a
cool.
good set of ears.
All the credit for it. Since he passed, I've been seeing people post things and mention things, and somebody on my Facebook feed said there'd be no Morbid Angel without Eddie Van Halen, and I was like, oh fuck, like that makes sense to like the core.
Yeah,
I know Morbid Angel front and back. Well, the early albums.
Yeah. To a point.
Here we go again. We all agree on that.
I prefer the demos. My first idea for you guys was to play a demo that you preferred over any of the albums.
Oh wow!
I thought
Confessor comes to mind.
Yeah.
Confessor, really?
Yeah,
they're heavier. Yeah,
I'm not sure I've heard the Confessor demos.
Yeah, the demos that were what the album was built on are just so much more crushing and just a better sound. I mean, better recording. You know,
Wow.
it got kind of muted and
Uh-huh.
I don't know. How would you describe that album?
It has that sort of vacuum effect.
Yeah, it doesn't breathe, and therefore you lack a little bit of the heaviness.
And two,
it's still great, and it's still heavy, but
I think when they went to do the album, Steve Shelton became the real focus. You know,
sure.
And on the demos,
not?
like he's there big time, but like the guitars have so much more presence in the mix. And Scott Jeffrey sounds a little more unhinged too.
Yes,
on the demos.
Yeah,
yes,
and, yeah. There's this song called "The Promise," like that didn't make the record.
Oh, The Secret.
Oh, The Secret. Shit, sorry.
Yeah,
The Secret.
Yeah,
and it's like completely incredible. Dive Bomb Records reissued all the demos. And did a really, really nice package with liner notes and everything. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, it's still he's probably got, I'm sure it's on Spotify if you just want to check him out, but like the actual CD and everything's still in print too.
Nice.
He did a really good job with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was unaware of that. The demo that comes to mind for me is Cathedral.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's like, I mean, Forest of Equilibrium is one of my all-time favorite records.
Totally, man.
That blew me away. Yep. When I heard that was coming out, I was like, oh, Lee Dorian, it's going to be fucking grindcore. And it came out, and I was like, this is the total antithesis of grindcore. But I fell in love. I mean, head over heels in love with that record. I got a hold of the demos like years later, and it's like it's even slower and more painful. And
Morning of a New Day. It's
it's just too much.
Isn't it funny how Cathedral was the antithesis of the two of the bands that the two main guys came from?
Yeah,
Napalm Death and Acid Rain. This goofy thrash band.
Yeah,
and then the fastest band in the world, and here you have Forest of Equilibrium. Awesome.
God, I saw Cathedral on the Soul Sacrifice when they did that EP.
Wow.
Saw them with with Merciful Fate. And they're opening for Merciful Fate. And I just happened to run into Lee Dorian in the bar beforehand. And I was brand new, moved from Montana to Minneapolis, never lived in a city before, never really seen metal shows before. But I had this hand-painted Cathedral jacket. I painted the emblem thing on the back, and I had the lyrics to Serpent's Eve on my sleeve.
Oh, nice.
I walked up to Lee Dorian, and I just introduced myself, and we hung out the entire night.
Awesome.
And
man.
That's great.
I was just this 18-year-old kid from Montana. Like, I was over the moon. And they dedicated Soul Sacrifice and A Funeral Request to me. And I was literally in tears. It was just so amazing.
Were they ebony tears?
They were. Yeah, it was amazing. Such an awesome.
That's
so
incredible.
Personable and so great. He was telling me about going to Target and dropping acid in Target, and like how it's like the best place to do acid.
As an American, I have a few more recommendations that are better than Target. I can really direct you towards The local Kmart's a little darker. They keep the lights a little lower. So
right, yeah. Target.
Check that out.
Not my first choice, but
no.
Yeah.
They Cathedral instilled that kind of fandom early on. I was the same way. I had several shirts. I mean, they were just on my mind all the time.
Oh yeah.
Those first couple records and the EPs, and God, they were special. Holy shit. Yeah.
Ethereal Mirror too. I just adore that record. I mean, it was kind of. It kind of fits in with what we were saying before. It's like this major change in a band's sound, but there's also like a thread back to what they're doing before. It wasn't like completely different. It was just more, a little bit more complex, a little bit more upbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And, someone who used to be in Napalm Death, doing this weird scat stuff and wearing bell bottoms. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was just so great.
Huggy Bear. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Disco Supernova.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah. Disco Supernova. That's the one I think
Casanova.
So heavy too, and so groovy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember, I haven't listened to Ethereal for a couple of years, but the last time I did, I think I probably texted Hunter and said, I just had the best listen with Uriel Mirror I've ever had.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it really does get better. And it did strike me as, wow, this, you almost forget how heavy it is because it was always in the shadow of forest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, no shadow. It holds its own.
It's heavy in a different way, completely different way.
For sure. Yeah,
but
for sure.
Just so rocking and so heavy. And then the EP.
Static Magic or Cosmic Requiem.
Cosmic Requiem.
Yeah. Those are
Voyage
great.
of the Homo sapien.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. Totally.
Oh. Cosmic Funeral, Hypnos 164.
Yeah. So great.
I've still love that stuff so much.
I may listen to Cathedral when we get off tonight.
I think but another band after that, I'm not really familiar with the works after that.
I'm pretty. I mean, I like Carnival still. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty ambivalent after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. I was a completist even up to The Last Spire, which was only what that come out like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I realized, man, I never listened to Caravan even, which I liked when it came out quite a bit. I did a big write up on it in Maniacs, and I was absolutely all about it. And I don't regret that, but like, I don't listen to it anymore. It doesn't strike anything in me. Supernatural Birth Machine, the one after Carnival Bazaar, was not good.
No,
when it came out, I thought it was kind of a disaster. And I got rid of like the last 4 or 5 because I just like, why would I ever listen to Guessing Game when Static Magic is here, when Forest of Equilibrium is here? Never.
It happens to me a lot too. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And I like to know bands' full stories. I really do.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think it's valuable. And I think it's important to not turn off to a band you love too quickly, but fuck it, man. I mean, Seventh Coming I have no reason to go back to it. So.
That record sucks too.
Yeah.
All right. I need a quick pee break.
Okay. Yeah.
And then let's move on to mine.
All right.
Cool. Sounds good.
Let's take 2.
Hey Hunter, let's record a quick episode. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, we'll do our scum.
We'll do a 0.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll fix my weaknesses. Okay. Anyway. Nocturnus AD thing?
Yeah.
That Browning did? Is that it?
Yeah. I tried. I don't know.
Okay.
The vocals really turned me off for some reason. They just sounded so lazy. I
Who's
don't know.
doing the vocals?
I don't think it's Mike. It's somebody else.
Wow. Okay.
It
Seems like lazy vocals kind of go hand in hand with that band. I mean, I think his vocals on the key are fine. I think that Threshold's vocals are fine. They never had a great vocalist, I guess. You know.
No, but I felt like there's something about it on the key that fit somehow. It was like so percussive in a way. Like it made sense. Like, oh, the drummer's singing, but I mean, it was never great. But it worked
Everything
for me on
that's
the
like
key.
wrong with the key kind of works.
Well, right.
That's a really good.
The whole thing's kind of janky in a way, except for the
totally.
guitars.
I love that. Yeah, I will never refer to that album in any other way now.
Janky.
It's the jankiest death metal album ever made.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, it's. I mean, you guys had an episode about this, but like, it's a little like the keyboard sounds are a little janky. They're a little bit worse than they should be.
Oh yeah, totally.
But somehow you love it. It works. It's
an amazing record. The
Really
Hunter, did you hear the Nocturnus AD record?
I did not.
Yeah, I tried to get into it, but I was just telling Jeff the vocals are just too lazy. And you know, when there's certain people that growl and they have like this certain timbre to their voice that just makes it sound more like, instead of like somebody who's like aggressive and passionate, makes them sound like they're just tired and drunk. And that's what it sounded like to me. And
Chris Barnes.
Newer Chris Barnes. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
But
yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
That turns me off, where it just kind of sounds like a guy just
doesn't care. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I really wanted to like it, and I couldn't really get into it.
Is Mike the only guy in that band?
I think so.
The only legit Nocturnus guy. Yeah. Nocturnus, you know, as we said in the Thresholds episode, it really, more than Mike Browning, Nocturnus for us is McNenny and Davis. I mean, those guitarists that's what that band's all about for me. That's why I go back and listen to them. I mean, for the most part, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit's just crazy.
Yeah. But it's Mike's concept, and so I appreciate Mike for that.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's his baby, it's his thing.
I mean, and
I
like
definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
Louis Panzer had shitty keyboard sounds. You're right, but like, I kind of dig what he did too. You know,
yeah, for sure. And I thought about doing an episode on that because I feel like there's so many bad keyboard sounds, especially coming out of like Norway in the 90s. And I feel like it's become like this like fetishized thing where now there's people in like the year 2010, the year 2020 that are trying to replicate these old shitty keyboard sounds that like Count Grishnock had, or Dimmu Borgir had, or Dismal Euphony had. It's like,
Dismal Euphony. Damn.
He went there.
That's the reference of the night, man. Right
Absolutely.
There.
Oh man, I was
thinking about breaking out a Lux Occulta reference later, but you know, you beat me to the punch, man.
Yeah, or Troll, or some of those bands. I mean, they like made these crappy Yamaha and Casio keyboard sounds like cult and necro and cool. And now people are trying to replicate those when they have access to these brilliantly sampled VSTs and things like that. And it's like,
right.
It's fascinating, but that's kind of like the same thing with the Nocturnus record, I think too. Like the sounds are better than like the Dismal Euphonies and the early Dimmu Borgirs and stuff like that. But still, there's something really charming about the jankiness of it.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, like Ivar's keyboard sounds on Hordanus Land.
But
like
so
man,
great.
like the orchestral hits. And
I was just gonna say orchestral stabs. Yeah. But you could say like Emperor on that record too, and in the Nightside Eclipse, like really crappy keyboard sounds, but they didn't try to overdo it. It's just like basically like pads in the background. And in the Nightside Eclipse has, in my opinion, some of the best keyboard work because it's so understated and
it's incredible. Yeah,
it's just, it fits in with the guitar so much. Or like Wrath of the Tyrant, like shit like that. It's like that awful guitar sound, those awful keyboard sounds.
Oh man,
it's perfect.
Sound is gnarly as shit.
That's part of the charm, man. Is kind of the awfulness. It sort of adds to the sort of decrepit vibe that they're trying to put off in the first place. And,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's funny because a lot of that was accident. I mean, obviously Bathory was accident in Heaven Shore Studio, but it became the standard of the aesthetic standard.
Yeah. But that's the stuff that fascinates me about music are the accidents and the chance happenings and
totally.
the things that happen without intent.
Yep.
And that's why I love music.
Yep.
Yeah.
When there's accidents that you make work for yourself, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And not to hit too much on that point, but we're talking about Entombed and Paradise Lost and where they went and then how they backpedaled. To me, I think a band tends to make the most interesting music when they don't quite know what they are yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get there and they figure it out, then they start just giving you that all the time or just variations on that theme. And then you're like, to me, that's where that hunger seems kind of lost.
Yeah.
The listener can kind of hear that they're not hungry anymore, searching for what they are. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And expanding on that thought a little bit, I love it when bands write and perform music that are a little bit above their means to play.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like they're struggling for it. They're a little bit behind the beat. They're not playing the part quite right. Because it captures that hunger, that strife, that desperation, that spirit. I feel like I'm just bringing up references to your podcast, but whenever I talk about stuff like that, I think of Nuclear Death. I feel like they were always trying to play above their abilities.
Yeah.
And that's what led to them being so feral, is they were just, they didn't let it stop them. They're just like, we're fucking doing this and I'm missing every other note and I'm screwing my ass off. But
it's like, but
we hear it. To me, I still listen to it. And I'm like, I'm scared. I'm like, this is, they're so into it, right? They're so going for it.
Yeah.
Voivod's Roar was a band playing above its capabilities. You talk to those guys now and they were like, we were trying to play way faster than we could. Away says, I just wasn't that kind of drummer, but I was I was fucking playing my ass off trying to be that kind of drummer. And that's why Roar is so fucking great, is because they were just possessed, I guess.
Yeah.
In wanting to reach this kind of Mount Olympus of fast fucking aggressive thrash, and we're heavier than everybody else. And there was such competition at that time to be that.
Right.
You got a lot of really crazy balls out records from back then,
And of course, like all those kids, they want to play fast. They want to be dangerous. They want to, they want to live up to their heroes and Slayer or whoever else. And it's big shoes to fill. But it creates some great output.
Absolutely.
It seems like it's usually on demos where it's like, oh, this is like, again, really janky.
Oh God, like this, the Sadist demo. I mean,
so
dude, that's
good.
Just bad
so good.
shit.
Yeah.
Sadist. I haven't listened to the Sadist records in a long time, but man, awesome stuff.
Earlier the better, man.
Yeah.
Earlier the better.
I prefer the demos and the rehearsals.
Oh my God. DTP.
Okay, I think it's time for my choice.
All right.
Ready for this?
Let's do it.
I hope so, man.
This song came up on just random the other day, and I was like, I've been brainstorming for a couple of weeks. What do I have Hunter and Jeff do? This song came on, and I was like, this is what we're doing.
It's definitely metal. I feel like I've heard this before.
I'd be shocked if you hadn't heard it before.
I don't think I have.
It's way better than you'd imagine this band to be.
Oh, I know it. The Solamnizer by Gwar.
Ah.
Yeah.
I can't hear you. I gotta.
Okay.
Did you get it, Jeff?
You got it.
Yeah, Solamnizer, Gwar.
Yep. You got it.
Yeah, I used to have the radio promo vinyl of this thing.
So it's not really an animal on the cover, but you know.
I guess we can look now.
Yeah.
What's on the cover?
It's them.
Yeah.
They're from Antarctica. They're
right.
Not necessarily.
This is their
animals.
second album?
This is, yeah.
I know almost nothing about Gwar.
Really?
I guess you haven't seen him?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I saw him once. Yeah, everybody's got to see Gwar once.
Yeah. I've seen him a couple times back in the 90s. This record is indescribably important to me, and probably more important to me than it should be. And
I forgot kind of how upbeat and somewhat how should I put it? Urban, infectious, groovesy this is.
Infectious.
I mean, it sort of has. Like, I was thinking
Robert
infectious
Trujillo,
grooves when you're first
infectious
playing
grooves.
Yes.
Just the kind of rappy style of vocal, you know.
Yeah. Well, you probably didn't catch it, but there's an NWA reference in it too. He quotes NWA in the lyrics.
All right. Like right there, I'm like, give it to me, give it to me. Like,
yep. There we go.
The Solamnizer.
I have to say, not knowing anything about Gwar, it sounded much, much more legitimate to me than I would have expected Gwar to sound.
Right. And
like
that's how
the play
a lot
was
of people
great.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, Gwar, again, like with all these bands we've been talking about, they have a long history. They're still around even though Wonderous has been, deceased for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Actually, a few of them have, and I think they only have like one original member at this point.
Really?
Even if that,
I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me they had none, because they're the kind of band that can really carry on in perpetuity, man. Like with the costumes and the, I mean,
nobody.
I guess I never
really
thought
know.
of Gwar. Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, so how far do you go with Gwar?
Well, that's the thing. The first record is kind of fun and silly. It's passable. It's not remarkable at all. This is the second record, Scum Dogs of the Universe. It's probably a little bit of nostalgia for me, and it's probably a little bit of a right place at the right time. I heard it at the right age.
Okay.
Blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I collected their live DVDs, well, VHS at the time. Saw them live a bunch. After this, it's This Toilet Earth. Has a few moments here and there. No, after that, it's America Must Be Destroyed, which is fucking fantastic. America Must Be Destroyed.
That's the only one I ever
great.
owned. Yeah, because I had that Solamnizer 12-inch from I did college radio, and I got it that way. And then some friends of mine were into them, and I kind of bought America Must Be Destroyed when it came out. And what I appreciated about that one, I don't have it anymore. I can't say I'm a fan, but what I appreciated about that album was the diversity. I was really struck by.
It's got really good ballads on it, and
yeah, I mean, good playing. Like Hunter said, they're pretty legit, and I don't think it's easy to see why they're not thought of that way, because the image overrides some of that. But wow, yeah.
And much like Metallica, they haven't written anything good in over 20 years, but the output they did have back in the early days, to me, is exceptional. And that Scum Dogs of the Universe, to me anyway, if you were to play that for me and I had no concept of what Gwar was, none of the humor, none of the none of the costumes, none of that, I would still think this is an amazing fucking record. And, you know, unfortunately, they haven't done that in a really, really long time. But I listen to that record now, and I still get chills.
I'm gonna check it out. I mean, I was really surprised by that.
Well, and I think it's like Jeff said, it's easy to overlook the quality of the music because you're so taken in by the costumes, and they're easy to write off, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, and most of their catalog probably should be written off, but when they hit it really well.
Yeah, well, I think to me that, you know, everything you said, I could easily replace the word Kiss, you know, because Kiss were not taken seriously by a lot of people, but, you know, they've endured because of the songs and the albums, and the people aren't listening with their ears, and they also haven't done anything good in a long time. But yeah, you know, that I think War suffers the same thing in terms of, like, you know, you got to get over that thing of them being an image band and just try to listen with your ears rather than your eyes.
Yeah.
And if you come away liking it, great. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, they've always had some worth for sure. I was always amazed. I only saw them once. I don't know how many. You said you saw them a few times?
I saw them twice, I think. Maybe 2 or 3 times.
Just how they're able to play with all that shit on.
Oh yeah, and
That's true.
and all the,
you know,
all the other people on stage and the blood and the semen shooting everywhere.
It's truly chaos. It's fun.
The first time I saw them was with Neurosis, and the drummer had this weird snake thing that would come out of his drum kit through his kick drum and just basically like overtook the audience, and I mean, it was like this like 20-foot long snake thing that like, and it was spewing.
Hunter's got one of those on his kit, I think, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm getting one now.
Yeah, I mean the show is always awesome. It was always a lot of fun. But you know, but that's the whole point. I feel like they had really great songs at one point too, and it's just really easy to overlook. I mean, the lyrics they're awful. They're misogynist. They're intrinsically awful lyrics, but they're actually really well written. They're really clever. And they created this whole world, you know, of like where they came from and the creatures, and they build their own costumes. They have their own like department of people in a warehouse somewhere in Virginia that like create their costumes, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
You know, and you mentioned creating the world. I mean, you know, that allows them to be, you know, I'm not saying that's right, but misogynistic or whatever, because they're characters.
Yes.
You can't possibly take this 100% seriously, and you have to give them a little slack, because they are coming from this thing of building a world, and we're escaping reality. We shouldn't be judged by sort of, you know, everyday rules of real life, because Gwar is the ultimate escapist band, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, more power to them. That's fantastic.
Awesome, man.
So Jeff, you would never, you're definitely familiar, but you would never call yourself a fan of Gwar?
Yeah. I think I just got curious because of that. I actually had that Slamanizer 12.
Yeah, that's
so it's funny you played that. It was like a promo radio single, I think. Pretty sure that's how I heard it. And then had some friends, and America Must Be Destroyed came out. I bought it. That's when I was buying, you know, going to BJ Records, and I was sitting and buying as much as my meager income could afford. And I just kind of picked that up, and I was impressed with it for a while, but it didn't stick with me. And I remember, what was the next one?
After America Must Be Destroyed?
Yeah.
Sorry. This Twilight Earth.
Okay. Yeah. I remember like just a friend got that, and I thought,
yeah, that had maybe 1 or 2 good tracks on it. It opened up with Sadama Go-Go, which had its moments, but overall was not that great of a record.
Yeah.
And Hunter, you're just totally unfamiliar with Gwar?
I mean, completely. Yeah. Until tonight, I couldn't name a single Gwar song. So, but I mean, I know Dave Brocky, you know, and I saw him in interviews and things, but beyond that.
So then tomorrow you can go to work and go, hey, do you want to check out some Salamanizer? And people will be like,
they're like, yeah, of course, we love Gwar.
Yeah. Everyone in my office is a woman beside me.
Well, then
Me
I think
too.
you really,
Me
you
too.
really need to ask that
That's
question
awesome.
in your office. Just stand up and ask it of everyone, and
Yeah, I work with entirely all women and live with entirely all women. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, man, white men have fucked up the world for centuries. Let's give it
Fuck
to the
yeah.
women for a while.
Yeah,
seriously.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Absolutely. Let's
So,
kill
Hunter-
one white man in particular, and then let's give it to the women.
Are you referring to me?
Yes, Jason.
Yeah, I figured. So, Hunter, are you going to check out Guar?
I am.
Nice.
I really am. I mean, I was actually taken aback by that. I would never have guessed that was Guar. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
I just thought it was like some kind of post-thrash thing that I'd somehow missed out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little piece of trivia that ties into an episode that you just recorded. John Cobbett was in Guar for a piece.
He was.
Yep.
Ah.
Did he ever record albums with him, or he was just a live guy?
When I've asked John Cobbett about it, he refuses to talk about it.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. Not refuses. He's just like, that was forever ago.
Yeah, he's
just
probably tired of people bringing it up and then not knowing what Hammers of Misfortune is.
exactly.
That Hammer stuff's cool and all, but anyway, let's talk about Guar.
Yeah. Let's talk about Guar. My understanding is that he was on a demo and basically left because he felt like they were going nowhere. And
Were they? I mean, how did he end up? Because wasn't he always a San Francisco guy until?
No, he was in DC or.
That's right.
area.
He was in DC. Yeah,
Oh,
you're
I
right.
didn't know that.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. And
Wow.
forgive me if you covered this in your episode, but are you guys familiar with Iron Cemetery?
No, well, I know the name, but we didn't touch on it at all.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about like Ludacra and what's Vole, of course, but not too much. It was a full Hammers dive.
Nice. Yeah, the Iron Cemetery stuff is awesome. But
I have to check it out. I can't recall if I've heard it.
Yeah, it's really funny to think of John Cobbett being in Guar. I mean, it just seems like a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, awesome. I think that's all I've got. Do you guys have anything else?
This was a blast.
Yeah, this
was a blast.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we feel privileged.
Yeah,
so
I'm honored to have you guys on.
If we had guests on Radical Research, we'd have you as the first one. But so far, we've resisted that. I don't know why, but the whole idea was to just not do that. I remember being scared. Hunter and I talked. Like, gee, what if we had Garm on the first episode, because I was in touch with him from Ulver.
Oh, God.
But then we can't be critical.
Yeah.
No.
And we want to sometimes be critical. So that's why we haven't had guests. But if we do, we'll have you on and we'll just tear the shit out of you, and it'll be great.
Let's rip apart Agalock or Sculpture or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. I would enjoy that. Now the guest thing is fun, but it depends on the person. There's some people that I can talk with really freely. This has been really great because I feel like it's not. I feel like you guys aren't really guests. You're more like co-hosts. Like we're talking about the same things. It's not like I have one person on that has like an agenda to promote a record or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can get really awkward and uncomfortable. But yeah, this is actually really nice for me because I'm not the best speaker anymore. I feel like the older I get, I start to stumble over my words more and more, and I forget to like lose my train of thought. So sometimes
I think that's a universal thing because I stumble. I was telling somebody like that I would just be grateful to like get out of a bed and not groan anymore.
You do start noticing yourself making strange noises at times that you normally like get in the mail. You're like,
but you're also the guy that sent me Mad Lib words of genuflect and pamplesest. So
he's a wordsmith, that boy.
Yeah, I know. It's intimidating. And I feel like my vocabulary is waning by the minute. But
dude, tell me about it, man.
Yeah,
I'm intimidated by Hunter every episode too.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
this has been great, Jason.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's do it again sometime if we have
for sure, anytime
for something.
Oh yeah. And send us this link as soon as it comes out. We'll cross promote for whatever that's worth at Radical Research World. But
I would love it. Yeah, that would
We
be
do have some
fantastic.
crazies. We have some crazies. So
yeah, we
check it
do.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I know that we get a little bit of cross promotion.
Oh, I'm
or
sure.
A little bit
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically, when I'm about to have a guest on, I will on Facebook and Instagram, I'll post like a little snippet of like that person's leg or that person's shoulder or something like that, and say because a lot of my show is about the mystery of it. Like you don't know who's going to be played, you don't know who's going to be on, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to picture a Hunter's left buttock? Because I could probably get that to you here pretty quick.
He's been texting me for months, man.
Oh, has he? Okay, yeah.
You said you deleted that. Yeah,
Yeah,
You've seen the Ginn dick pics then.
yeah. I've got the Ginn core for sure.
Oh, nice.
That used to be like my pickup line. Hey, baby, you want to see the Ginn core? Worked every time. Yeah.
You can call me the Salomonizer. So today I posted a photo of, I went to Radical Research Facebook and I clipped just your guys' legs and feet from that photo where you're holding up the In the Woods Omnio record.
Oh, yeah.
I snipped that out, posted it on Facebook, and I said, tonight I'm recording with these guys for my 50th episode. Who are they? And some dude, no idea who he is, said,
"What?
That's Jeff Wagner and Hunter Ginn from Radical Research."
What? Wow. We need to find out who that is so that we can go ahead and get that restraining order put in place.
Get a cease and desist. Yeah. That's amazing.
And he said, if that's true, that's the melding of my two favorite podcasts. I was like, that's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
Good deal.
yeah.
Good deal.
Awesome.
Well, you
again,
do a great thing. Yeah. Thanks again. We're honored for sure.
And
Totally.
thank you. And keep in touch. Let's do it again.
Yeah,
and,
man.
For sure.
Yeah. See you guys later.
All right, guys. All right.
All right.
Have
See
a
you
good
guys.
night.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.